Legislative committee hearings are your opportunity to say your piece about bills lawmakers are considering. For 2 minutes, you can say your 2 cents worth. Before a bill can come to the floor of a legislative chamber for a vote, it has to be reported favorably from a committee. And in most cases, that means the committee is going to hold a public hearing on that bill. A public hearing is an opportunity for stakeholders or members of the public to offer opinions on the bill and give the committee information they think will help the members decide whether the bill should move forward. As a member of the public, you can testify for, against, or on a bill. Now, for and against are pretty self-explanatory, but testifying on or neutral means that you don't necessarily have an opinion about whether the bill should pass, but you do have information that you think legislators need to know and that maybe would make it better. So how do you find out about a public hearing? There's a lot of ways. One is you can sign up to be a member of organizations that work on issues you care about, and then get their action alerts. Those are usually texts or emails that will tell you when bills related to those issues are coming up for a hearing. You also can sign up for an account on the Capitol website, and then you'll get pinged every time there's a hearing on a bill you've put in your track. Whether you're testifying on, for, or against a bill, it's a good practice to let lawmakers know that you're planning to speak. At a minimum, you should let the bill's author know that you'll be testifying, especially if you're testifying against their bill. Hearing a lot of negative testimony in a public hearing makes legislators feel ambushed and much less receptive to your comments. If you talk to them ahead of time, the author may be more likely to adjust the bill to address your concerns. Hey, how's it going? Hey, I wanted to talk to you about your bill. So, it's the day of the hearing. You've made it to the Capitol, where you can park in the Capitol Visitor Lot on San Jacinto Street. Cross the street by the Texas State Archives, come through the East Gate, and head on up the Circle Drive to the East Door. Once you're inside the East Door, you'll go through security. It's not the airport, so you don't need to take off your shoes. But do remember to empty your pockets, and also remember to thank the security guards for their work. After you get through security, you can make your way to the rotunda, where you'll use that clock to locate the north elevators. These elevators go all the way to the top of the main building and all the way to the bottom of the Capitol extension. And your hearing could be anywhere in the building, or even one of the adjacent buildings on the Capitol grounds. But most likely, it will be in the extension. So let's head down to E2. Use that posting board to confirm that your hearing is still in the location at the time you expected, and go find your room. But don't get comfy yet. First, you need to register to testify. Before you can testify in a committee hearing, you have to register as a witness. And this kiosk is where you do that. So I'm going to walk you through the process. For starters, you pick the committee that you're going to testify in, and you register a position and say whether you plan to provide oral testimony. So I'm saying my position is neutral and I do plan to testify. Next, you fill in your contact information. Now, if you're planning to come back and testify other times, you can save your registration so that next time you can load it. You have to put in your email address and a password, and it will preload all that contact information. So I'm going to say next whether I'm representing a business or group or I'm just testifying as myself, and I would say I'm representing an organization, but likely you would say you're just representing yourself. And maybe you would say you are a Texan. So now you are signed up. The last thing I'll do is check this box that says, I understand the testimony I'm going to provide this committee is sworn public testimony. And I could be subject to a charge of perjury if I say something I know isn't true. After that, I can press finish and I'll be ready to testify. Now that we're registered, we can head on down to the committee room. Now, depending on a variety of factors, this hearing could last anywhere from 10 minutes to 10 hours. The committee could hear one bill or they could hear 20 bills. The chair could decide to take the easiest bills up first, or they could do the hardest one that's going to take the longest. If you ask the author of the bill, they might have some idea of how the chair plans to proceed. You could also ask the committee staff. Who? We'll talk more about them later. Now, for really controversial legislation, advocacy groups often plan for a lot of testimony. That can include reserving a space in the Capitol for advocates to hang out while they wait, maybe activities like a rally on the Capitol steps. For a hearing like that, you'll probably get a lot of advance notice from the organizers, and there will be volunteers in the building to help you find your way around and keep up with the hearing. But let's assume this hearing is not that kind of hearing. Let's assume in this hearing, you're the only person you know who's testifying. There's a long agenda, and your bill is not the first thing on it. Your author's very busy today, and the committee chair said they'd take up the author's bill whenever the author can get there. The hearing starts at 10 a.m., so we can just assume the committee is going to have to recess, which means take a break, and go to the floor of the chamber at some point. That means they're going to have to come back and finish the hearing after lunch. So with all of those caveats, let me give you some pro tips. Pack thoughtfully when you come to the Capitol. You could be here for several hours, and you should want to be comfortable. For starters, you're going to want to bring devices that you usually use. Your phone, a laptop or tablet. Be sure you have your charger with you. Now, I think it's a good idea to bring a water bottle. You can get it in the grill, but they're kind of expensive. And if you're going to spend money, I would spend it on one of these handbooks that has your legislator's phone number and room number in it. I try to bring something for a headache in case the hearing gets spicy. And you're going to be walking a lot, so you're going to want to be sure to either wear or bring comfortable shoes. Otherwise, you could end up with blisters. It can be pretty boring to sit in the hearing for hours, and it's tempting to play video games on your phone. But you should resist that urge and find some other way to keep your hands busy. I usually bring knitting. And my biggest pro tip of all, I always bring a toothbrush. You'd be amazed at how much better you feel doing your public testimony with clean teeth. When the committee recesses to go to the floor, the chair will say what time they're going to come back. Typically, that is measured against when the chamber adjourns. So the chair will say, we'll be back 30 minutes upon adjournment. So that means you're going to need to keep an eye on the floor so that you know when it's time to go back down to the committee. And you can do that online. You don't have to actually go into the chamber. That means you can take a break, catch up on stuff you need to do, and also come to the grill and get something to eat. And here's a hot tip. The grill closes way earlier than people think it's going to. So if you think you're going to be here late into the evening, if you think that's a possibility, grab some extra food and put it in your bag and take it with you in case later in the evening you're hungry and need to step out to refuel. If you're submitting written testimony to the committee, you need to make at least 10 copies. You'll give them to the committee clerk when you get ready to do your testimony. And even if you have written testimony, you're still going to want to be flexible with your oral testimony and make edits based on what other people have said. Don't just read whatever you handed into the committee. Be responsive to what's going on in the hearing. Being in a legislative hearing can feel kind of like being in the audience of a play. It seems like everybody's up on the stage doing their lines and the people here are the audience. But that is not the case. Everyone who's in the hearing is a participant. They're all working together on one of the most important parts of our democratic process. It's unlikely that your bill is going to get voted out of committee the same day it got heard. Most likely, the chair is going to hold it at least a week to give the other committee members time to digest the information they heard in the hearing. Often, chairs will wait till they get a quorum and then vote on all the legislation they heard over the past couple of weeks. If it's been longer than that and your bill still hasn't popped out of committee, you could call the committee office. The committee staff work for the chair, and one of their jobs is to file the reports that keep legislation moving through the process. So if you're wondering where your bill is, you could call and ask them if there's a holdup or if they know what the chair's intentions are for that bill. Calling repeatedly and harassing the committee staff, like harassing anybody else, just rude. But expressing your sincere concern, perfectly reasonable.